When your ego runs faster than your conscience. Nikola Tesla, New York, 1895. Nikola Tesla's laboratory was on fire. The flames devoured 20 years of work in less than an hour. Projects that could have changed the destiny of humanity turned to ashes before the inventor's eyes. But Tesla didn't scream. It didn't run. He remained motionless on the sidewalk of Fifth Avenue, watching the fire consume everything he had built. A firefighter approached, panting. "Sir, we need to get him out of here. The building could collapse at any moment." Tesla did not respond. His eyes were fixed on something beyond the flames, as if he could see through the fire, a truth that no one else could see. "Mr. Tesla," the firefighter grabbed his arm. "Do you hear me?" "I hear everything," Tesla murmured. "That's the curse." That night, while the city slept and the newspapers prepared their headlines about the destroyed genius, Tesla walked alone through the streets of Manhattan. He didn't go to a hotel. He didn't look for friends. He went to the East River and stared at the dark water for hours, in absolute silence. What was going through your mind at that moment? What had he lost in that fire that went beyond machines and papers? Few knew that. Inside that laboratory, there was a diary that Tesla kept locked in a steel safe, away from any assistants or visitors. In it, the inventor did not write about electricity or engines. He was writing about something much more dangerous, the nature of the human ego, and how it had nearly destroyed his own life. To understand what that diary contained, we need to go back in time 15 years, to a time when Nikola Tesla was not yet Nikola Tesla, the genius. He was just a young immigrant with a foreign accent, shabby clothes, and a crumpled letter of recommendation in his pocket. 1884, New York Harbor. Tesla got off the ship with 4 cents in his pocket, some poems he had written himself, calculations for a flying machine, and a letter addressed to Thomas Edison, the most powerful man in America. "Edison will welcome me," he said to himself as he walked through the crowded streets. "He will understand what I know. He will see what I see." There was something in Tesla's eyes that day, an absolute certainty, an unshakable conviction that he carried within him a truth that the world needed to hear. He had no doubts. "I wasn't afraid. I didn't even have the humility to consider that I could be wrong." And that's exactly what almost destroyed him. When Tesla finally got an audience with Edison, he spoke for 2 hours straight. He talked about alternating current, about motors that rotated without brushes, about wireless power transmission. He spoke with so much passion, so much speed, so much intensity, that he barely let Edison utter a word. When he finished, Tesla looked at Edison expecting admiration, waiting for recognition, waiting for the great American inventor to fall to his knees before his genius. Edison lit a cigar. He released the smoke slowly, and he said just one sentence: "Your ideas are splendid, but completely impractical." Tesla felt like he had been punched in the stomach, but he didn't show it. His ego wouldn't allow it. "You don't understand," Tesla replied. "Alternating current is the future. The direct current that you defend is primitive, inefficient, limited." Edison smiled. It was a smile Tesla would never forget. "Boy," Edison said, "I didn't build an empire by being the smartest one in the room. I built an empire by understanding what people want to buy. You can have the best ideas in the world, but if no one wants to buy them, they're worthless." Tesla left that office humiliated, but he didn't learn his lesson. His ego didn't let him. For the next few months, he worked for Edison. He dug ditches, repaired generators. He did the legwork that no other engineer wanted to do. Edison had promised him $50,000 if he could improve the company's dynamos. Tesla worked day and night. He slept in the laboratory, skipped meals, and when he finally presented the improvements that would save the company millions, Edison laughed. "Tesla, you don't understand American humor." There was no payment. There was no recognition. Tesla was discarded as a tool that was no longer useful. And here's what no one tells you about this moment. Most stories talk about Edison's cruelty, about injustice, about how Tesla was tricked. But there is something more important that happened that day. Something Tesla would only understand years later, when it was too late. When he left Edison's office, Tesla felt no sadness. He felt no pain. He felt angry. A cold, calculated anger that turned into a silent promise. "I will prove that I'm better than him. I will destroy everything he built." This promise became Tesla's fuel. She drove him to create alternating current, winning the war of currents, lighting up the Chicago World's Fair, building the Niagara Falls power plant. But that same promise also planted a seed of destruction within him. Because Tesla was no longer working to light up the world, he was working to prove his ego right. And when the ego runs faster than consciousness, fate always takes its toll. There was one question that Tesla refused to ask. Why did Edison treat him that way? What did the Wizard of Menlo Park see in him that made him decide to crush him rather than support him? The answer was hidden in something that happened in Tesla's first week on the job. an incident that he erased from his memory, but that Edison never forgot. If you are following this story and it is resonating with something inside you, subscribe to the channel. What comes next reveals a truth about human nature that few have the courage to face. In his first week of work in Edison's laboratory, Tesla made a mistake that would seal his fate. It was an ordinary Tuesday. The engineers were gathered around a table, discussing a problem with the Pearl Street station's generators. Edison's direct current was flawed. The engines overheated. The cables melted. Important clients threatened to cancel contracts. Edison was furious. He looked at his team and asked, "Does anyone here have a solution?" Silence. The American engineers, men who had worked with Edison for years, bowed their heads. They knew the boss's temper. They knew that one wrong answer could cost them their jobs. But Tesla didn't know. Or maybe he knew and didn't care. He raised his hand. "Mr. Edison, the problem is not with the generators. The problem is the entire system. Direct current is fundamentally limited. It cannot travel long distances without losing power. You're trying to right a ship that's already sinking." The laboratory was completely silent. The engineers looked at Tesla as if he had just signed his death warrant. One of them, a man named Charles Batchelor, who was Edison's right-hand man, closed his eyes and slowly shook his head. Edison said nothing. He just looked at Tesla for a long moment. Then he turned his back and left the room. Tesla interpreted that silence as victory. He thought he had impressed Edison with his intelligence, that he had shown his worth, that he had proven that he was different from other mediocre engineers. He couldn't be more wrong. That evening, Edison called Batchelor into his private office. "What do you think of the Serb?" Edison asked. Batchelor hesitated. "He's brilliant, sir. Maybe the brightest I've ever seen." "I know he's brilliant." Edison lit a cigar. "I'm asking what you think of him." Batchelor understood the question. "He's dangerous." Edison nodded. "A man who doesn't know when to be silent is a man who doesn't know when to stop. And a man who doesn't know when to stop will destroy everything around him, including himself. What do you want me to do?" Edison exhaled the smoke slowly. "Nothing. Let him work. Let him show his genius. Let him think he is winning. Men like him don't need external enemies. Their ego does all the work of destruction." This conversation took place in 1884. Tesla never knew about it. He spent the following months believing he was conquering his space, proving his worth, moving up the company hierarchy. He didn't realize that Edison was just watching, waiting, studying your every move like a predator studies its prey. But Edison wasn't the only one watching Tesla. There was another man in New York who followed the young inventor's path with growing interest, a man whose name Tesla did not yet know, but who would become the most important and most destructive figure in his life: George Westinghouse. Westinghouse was Edison's opposite in almost every way. While Edison was a showman, Westinghouse was reserved. While Edison sought fame, Westinghouse sought results. While Edison saw business as a war to be won, Westinghouse saw it as a puzzle to be solved. And Westinghouse had a problem that needed a solution. He had built an empire based on railroads and pneumatic brakes, but he knew the future was in electricity, and he knew that Edison's direct current was a dead end. What he needed was an alternative, a technology that could transmit energy over long distances, a technology that could defeat Edison. When Westinghouse heard about a young Serbian engineer who had been humiliated by Edison and who owned patents for an alternating current system, he did not hesitate. In 1888, 4 years after Tesla left Edison's laboratory, Westinghouse sought him out. The meeting took place in Pittsburgh, at the headquarters of Westinghouse Electric. Tesla entered the office expecting to find yet another businessman wanting to explore his ideas. What he found was something completely different. Westinghouse didn't talk about money. He didn't talk about contracts. He talked about vision. "Mr. Tesla," Westinghouse said, "I don't want to buy your patents. I want to build a future with them. I want to electrify all of America, and I want to do it with you by my side." Tesla felt something he hadn't felt in years: recognition, respect, validation. But along with these feelings came another, a feeling that Tesla mistook for justice, but which was something much more dangerous: revenge. "Mr. Westinghouse," Tesla responded, "I accept your proposal, but I need you to understand something. This isn't just about lighting houses. This is about proving Edison wrong. This is about showing the world that his direct current is obsolete, primitive, inferior. This is about destroying everything he built." Westinghouse was silent for a moment. There was something in Tesla's eyes that worried him, an intensity that went beyond scientific passion, a flame that seemed fueled by something darker. "Mr. Tesla," Westinghouse said calmly, "I understand your anger. Edison treated you unfairly, but I need you to listen to one thing carefully." Tesla frowned. "When a man builds something great just to prove another man wrong, he is not building a legacy. He is building a prison. And when that prison is finished, he will discover that he has locked himself inside it." Tesla heard the words, but he didn't absorb them. His ego didn't allow it. "With all due respect, Mr. Westinghouse, you don't know Edison like I do. You don't know what he's capable of." Westinghouse sighed. "Maybe. But I know what the human ego is capable of, and I've seen brilliant men destroyed by it more times than I care to remember." Over the next 5 years, Tesla and Westinghouse waged war against Edison, the war of currents. Edison fought with every weapon he had. He electrocuted animals in public to prove that alternating current was deadly. He lobbied for the electric chair to use alternating current, linking Tesla's technology to death. He spread fear, lies, and propaganda across the country. Tesla responded with genius. He built more efficient engines. He demonstrated the safety of alternating current passing electricity through the body itself. He lit up the Chicago World's Fair in 1893, showing the entire world that the future belonged to him. And in 1896, when the Niagara Falls plant opened, the world's first large-scale hydroelectric plant, powered by Tesla's alternating current system, the war was won. Edison had lost. Tesla was on top of the world. He was celebrated as a genius. Newspapers called him the man who tamed lightning. Millionaires begged to finance their projects. High society women competed for his attention. But something was wrong. On Niagara Falls opening night, as everyone celebrated, Tesla walked away from the crowd. He walked to the edge of the falls and watched the water fall into the abyss. A journalist found him there. "Mr. Tesla, aren't you happy? You won." Edison was defeated. Tesla did not immediately respond. When he finally spoke, his voice was almost a whisper. "I spent 10 years of my life trying to prove Edison wrong, and now that I have," he paused, "I don't feel anything." The journalist didn't understand. How could I? He didn't know what Tesla was beginning to realize at that moment. The victory was empty, because Tesla hadn't fought to light up the world. He had struggled to feed his ego, and the ego, when it is fed, is never satisfied. He always wants more, and that's exactly what happened in the following years. Tesla couldn't stop. He couldn't rest. He needed more. More recognition, more admiration, more proof that he was the greatest genius who ever lived. This need led him to make a promise that would change everything. A promise he made in 1899 when he set out for Colorado with a plan that bordered on madness. It was going to transmit electricity wirelessly to the entire world, and he was going to do it alone. Colorado Springs, 1899. Tesla arrived in the city carrying boxes of equipment that no one could identify. Local residents watched curiously as he built a strange structure nearby, a laboratory with a 200-foot-high metal tower crowned by a copper sphere that shone in the desert sun. Local newspapers called him the Wizard of the East. Children ran to see him pass. The farmers made bets on how long it would take before he blew something up. They didn't know they were right. In the first week of experiments, Tesla achieved something that no human being had done before. He created artificial lightning. 40-meter-long lightning bolts cut across the night sky, accompanied by thunder that could be heard 20 kilometers away. The electrical discharge was so powerful that it burned the local electric company's generator and left the entire city in the dark. Tesla did not apologize. When the electric company manager came to complain, Tesla dismissed him with a wave of his hand. "You should thank me," Tesla said. "You have just witnessed the birth of a new era." The manager left furious, but Tesla didn't even notice. He was too busy contemplating his own greatness. In the third week in Colorado, Tesla began to receive signals. These were not ordinary electrical signals. These were not atmospheric interferences. They were standards, sequences, mathematical repetitions that could not be natural. Tesla spent entire nights awake, trying to decode those signals. He filled notebooks with notes. He made obsessive calculations, and he came to a conclusion that left him in shock. The signals came from space. Someone, or something, was trying to communicate. Tesla wrote in his diary, "I was the first man to hear the voice of the cosmos, and at that moment, I understood that everything I had done until now was insignificant. Alternating current, Niagara Falls, the victory over Edison, none of that mattered in the face of what I was about to discover." He decided that he would reveal this discovery to the world. It would show humanity that we were not alone in the universe. But before he could do that, he received an unexpected visitor. It was night. Tesla was alone in the laboratory. The door opened, and a man entered without knocking. He wore a dark suit, impeccably tailored. His eyes were such a light blue that they seemed transparent. "Mr. Tesla," the man said, "we need to talk." "Who are you?" "My name is not important. What is important is what I came to tell you." The man approached. "I know about the signs, and I came to warn you. Don't talk about it. Don't publish anything. Don't tell anyone." "And why would I do that?" "Because there are things in this world that are greater than science, greater than fame. And when a man tries to reveal these things before the world is ready," he paused, "that man disappears." Before leaving, the man said one last thing. The ego is a useful tool, Mr. Tesla, but when it gets too big, it blinds us. And a blind man can't see the cliff until it's already falling. Tesla never saw that man again. In the following months, he tried to convince himself that the visit meant nothing, but a seed of doubt was planted. He didn't stop, of course. His ego wouldn't allow it. Tesla returned to New York in 1900 with even more ambitious plans. He convinced J.P. Morgan, America's most powerful banker, to finance his most daring project, the Wardenclyffe Tower, a colossal structure on Long Island capable of transmitting electricity and information wirelessly to anywhere on the planet. Morgan invested $150,000, a fortune at the time. But Tesla made a fatal mistake, a mistake that was born directly from his ego. He didn't tell Morgan the whole truth. Wardenclyffe Tower wasn't just about power transmission. Tesla had secret plans. He wanted to use the tower to continue his research into signals from space. I wanted to build an interplanetary communication system, and he needed more money, much more money. Tesla started spending beyond budget. When Morgan asked for accountability, Tesla was evasive and arrogant. "Mr. Morgan," Tesla wrote, "what I am building will change human civilization forever. The financial details are irrelevant to the magnitude of this achievement." Morgan cut funding. From one day to the next, Tesla found himself without money, without support, and without allies. The Wardenclyffe Tower was left unfinished. Creditors were knocking on his door. Newspapers that had once celebrated him now published stories about his spectacular fall. In the end, on a winter night in 1905, Tesla sat alone in his apartment at the New Yorker Hotel. There were no more parties. There were no more admirers. Just silence and the weight of your own choices. He opened his diary and wrote, "I spent my entire life trying to prove that I was extraordinary. And in that search, I forgot something fundamental. Genius. That which does not serve others is not genius. It's just vanity disguised on purpose." He closed the diary. And for the first time in decades, Nikola Tesla cried. But this would not be the last twist in the inventor's life, because while Tesla languished in his apartment, someone was watching. Someone who had followed his entire career since the beginning. Someone who was about to offer Tesla one last chance. A chance at redemption, or ultimate destruction. The man who knocked on Tesla's door that morning in 1906 was not a banker. He wasn't a journalist. He was not an investor looking for profit. It was George Westinghouse. Tesla opened the door and stood still. He hadn't seen Westinghouse in years. After the War of Currents ended, the two had gone their separate ways. Tesla learned that Westinghouse faced serious financial problems, that he almost lost his company, that he had to fight the same bankers who were now going after Tesla himself. But there he was, older, slimmer, with completely white hair, but with the same calm and penetrating eyes as always. "Can I come in?" Westinghouse asked. Tesla stepped aside, unable to say a word. Westinghouse looked around the apartment. He saw the stacks of papers, unpaid bills on the table, the curtains closed, blocking the sunlight. He made no comment, just sat in a chair and looked at Tesla. "You look terrible," Westinghouse said. Tesla let out a bitter laugh. "Thank you for your sincerity. I didn't come here to be nice. I came here because you need to hear some things, and because I'm probably the only person in the world who still cares enough to say them." Tesla sat in the opposite chair. His shoulders were hunched. His hands were shaking slightly. He seemed to have aged 20 years since the two last saw each other. "So say it," Tesla muttered. Westinghouse took a deep breath. "Do you remember what I told you when we first met? In Pittsburgh, almost 20 years ago?" Tesla nodded. "I said that when a man builds something big just to prove another man wrong, he is building a prison. Do you remember what you answered?" Tesla closed his eyes. "I said you didn't know Edison like I did, and I replied that I knew the human ego." Westinghouse leaned forward. "Tesla, you are the most brilliant man I have ever met. His inventions changed the world. Alternating current, the induction motor, the radio. You should be at the top. It should have everything. Money, fame, recognition. But you threw it all away. And do you know why?" Westinghouse pointed to Tesla's chest. "Because of that. This emptiness that you carry inside. This hole that you tried to fill with victories, with recognition, with the destruction of Edison. You thought if you proved you were the best, the emptiness would disappear." Tesla did not respond. But it didn't disappear, did it? Because the ego fulfills nothing. He just consumes. And the more you feed him, the more he wants. The silence between the two men stretched for a long moment. When Tesla finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. "So what do I do now?" Westinghouse took an envelope from his pocket and placed it on the table. Tesla looked at the envelope without touching it. "What is this?" "An offer. I don't want charity." "It's not charity." Westinghouse pushed the envelope toward Tesla. Do you remember the contract we signed in 1888? The one who gave me the rights to his alternating current patents? Tesla nodded. That contract had guaranteed him a royalty of $2.50 for every horsepower of electricity sold. If the contract had been maintained, Tesla would have been one of the richest men in the world. But the contract was not maintained. In 1897, when Westinghouse Electric was on the verge of bankruptcy, bankers demanded that Westinghouse renegotiate the deal. Tesla's royalties were too high. They were draining the company. If Tesla didn't part with the money, Westinghouse Electric would go bankrupt, and alternating current would die with it. Tesla tore up the contract. He gave up millions of dollars to save the technology he had created. At the time, he said he did it for the good of humanity. But the truth was more complicated. He did this because his ego couldn't bear to see his invention fail. I couldn't bear to give Edison this victory. I remember the contract, Tesla said, and I remember tearing it up. That's right. Westinghouse pointed to the envelope. I never forgot what you did. You saved my company, saved alternating current, and I never got the chance to give back. Tesla opened the envelope. Inside was a document and a check. The document was a new contract. Westinghouse Electric agreed to pay all of Tesla's living expenses for the This Is Your Life, apartment, food, clothes, all. The check was for $12,000, a fortune. Tesla looked at Westinghouse without being able to speak. That's not charity? Westinghouse repeated. This is a debt being paid, and there is a condition. What condition? You're going back to work. And Tesla spent the next few weeks in silence. He didn't leave the apartment, didn't respond to letters. He received no visitors. He sat in the same chair, day after day, looking at the contract Westinghouse had left behind. Part of him wanted to accept it. I wanted to go back to the laboratory. I wanted to feel the excitement of creating something new again. But another part, the part that had controlled his life for decades, resisted. If I accept, Tesla thought, I am admitting that I have failed. I'm admitting that I need help. I'm admitting that I'm not the self-sufficient genius I always pretended to be. It was the ego, still fighting, still refusing to die. And then, one stormy night, something happened. Tesla sat by the window, watching lightning streak across the New York sky. Electricity always calmed him. It was the only thing that made sense in a world that seemed to have gone crazy. Suddenly, he remembered something, a memory he had buried long ago. He was 8 years old. He was in Serbia on his family's farm. His older brother, Dane, had died in a horse riding accident. Dane was the favorite, the brilliant one, the one destined for great things. After Dane's death, Tesla's father looked at him and said, "Now you need to be exceptional for two." Tesla spent his entire life trying to fulfill this order, trying to be exceptional enough to make up for his brother's death, trying to prove that he deserved to be alive. And that night, looking at the lightning, he finally understood. He had never worked to enlighten the world. He had worked to fill a void that had existed since he was 8 years old, and no invention, no victory, no recognition would be able to fill this void, because emptiness was not a lack of success, it was a lack of acceptance. Tesla stood up. He walked to the table. He took a pen and signed the contract. In the following days, something began to change. Tesla returned to the laboratory, but this time he wasn't trying to prove anything. I wasn't competing with anyone. I wasn't trying to be the greatest genius in the world. He was just creating, and for the first time in decades, creation brought joy. Tesla began working on projects he had abandoned: wireless power, more efficient turbines, new forms of lighting. He didn't care whether these projects would bring fame or money. He just wanted to see ideas come to life. But the universe still had one last lesson to teach Tesla, a lesson in the nature of the ego, about the price of arrogance, and what happens when a man finally finds peace, but discovers the world isn't ready to leave him alone. Because while Tesla quietly rebuilt his life, someone was watching. The same man with light blue eyes who had visited him in Colorado. And this time it didn't come with a warning. He was coming to collect a debt. Tesla first saw it on an autumn morning in 1937. He was feeding the pigeons in Bryant Park. There was one in particular, a white dove, that always came to him. Journalists scoffed. They called him a fallen genius who talked to birds. They didn't understand. That dove was the only creature that didn't want anything from him. It was while feeding her that Tesla saw the blue-eyed man on the other side of the park. The same suit, the same face, as if 40 years hadn't passed. The final meeting took place in January 1943. The bedroom door opened at 3 in the morning. The man entered, accompanied by 2 others. "The papers," he said. Tesla had accumulated decades of secret documents, weapons, power systems, space signals. "Take everything," Tesla replied. "Then you will tell me that I will be forgotten, that Edison will be remembered, that I will die alone." The man nodded. Tesla laughed, a genuine laugh. "I spent my life chasing fame. and I discovered that it doesn't mean anything. The only thing that matters is what you create, and what is created with love cannot be destroyed. He looked out the window. Millions of lights shone, each powered by the system he created. You are trying to put out a flame that has already set the world on fire. Tesla died 4 days later. The government confiscated his documents. The newspapers repeated the lie that he lost to Edison, but the flame did not go out. His ideas resurfaced in technologies that others created without knowing their origins. Today, the name Tesla is on electric cars and billion-dollar companies. But the lesson is not in inventions. It's in what that he learned about the ego. And the ego says we need to win and be remembered, but lie. Tesla spent decades in this race. He won and felt empty. Only when he stopped did he find peace. Consciousness does not compete. She creates. And what is created with consciousness remains. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel. Tesla's message was about awakening. The ego is a tool, useful when controlled, destructive when let loose. When your ego runs faster than your conscience, you conquer everything and feel empty. When consciousness leads, even silence becomes creation, and true creation does not need applause. It just illuminates.